And for more on this now, to give us some more insight in today's hearing, is Brian Claypool. He's a criminal defense attorney and legal analyst. Brian, thanks so much for taking the time this morning. This is being taken up by the Indiana Supreme Court today, obviously the state's highest court, months before the scheduled trial in October. How unusual is it for the state's highest court to intervene like this in this case?
Hey, Markie, good morning. Great to see you. It is highly unusual because usually in criminal cases, you have appeals heard after there's been a verdict in a case. And this is an appeal that's being heard before the trial starts. So it's extremely extraordinary in a criminal case.
Yeah. And as Kelsey was just laying out there in that report right before we took you live, one of Alan's biggest asks is that his former defense attorneys be reinstated. They were removed after sensitive crime scene documents were leaked from one of their offices. In your experience, do you think, the quote, gross negligence cited by that judge was enough for the legal team's removal here because of those documents and photos?
Yeah, I don't think it was enough. And I respectfully disagree with the other young lady you had with her view. I think the Indiana Supreme Court is going to permit the previous public defenders to be reinstated and to defend Alan. Why? Because you have a constitutional right to competent legal counsel. Alan has expressed his desire to have these public defenders, number one. Number two, they've already worked up this case since October of 2022. And number three, to your point, there just simply is not enough evidence to remove them. You had a former employee who said that he grabbed those crime scene photos, that the two public defenders never assented to him doing that. So arguably, the two public defenders didn't do anything wrong. So I think they should be reinstated. Another reason why they should is, don't you want to avoid a post-verdict appeal? The way to avoid that is to let these two original public defenders back on the case.
Yeah, Brian, I'm not a legal mind, which is obviously why we had you on, but I was wondering, with that question in particular, does this not happen all the time? I mean, are crime scene photos not leaked more often than maybe even we know about? Does this happen more often than we think that it does?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, to give you an example, I mean, remember the President Trump's indictment in Florida with removing confidential documents. You had a few examples of the documents arguably leaked by somebody with big notes on them, confidential. So that's a perfect example right there. So this does happen often, but there wasn't gross negligence on the part of the two public defenders. And look, I think at the end of the day, Alan's going to probably win on the 70-day issue as well. If he gets into court and says, look, I want a trial within 70 days, I think the court's going to grant that. One thing I think Alan's going to lose on, Markie, is removing this judge. There's no way on this planet that Judge Gold's going to be removed. By the way, she was appointed by this Indiana Supreme Court, number one. And then number two, you can't remove judges because you're getting unfavorable rulings. You remove judges, for example, if there's a conflict of interest. They might know one of the parties or they're affiliated with one of the parties. That's not the case here.
Okay, well, we'll see where today heads. We understand the hearing, the commentary will be streamed live for all to listen in on. And as you know, this case has garnered really a worldwide following for these two young girls, and justice for them and their families. Brian Claypool, thanks as always.
You bet. Thank you, Markie.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.